everybody, I hope you're doing well. So, extension and helper, what are these things? Many times people get confused between helper and extension. You need static class to create these things. But, to understand, let's go for real life example. Focus on the name, something called helper. That means it is just going to help you. Let's imagine you are a junior developer in your team, and when I say junior developer, that does not mean you are the junior resource by experience. Maybe you are the junior resource by experience, but not always. It could be that you joined the new company and you are very new to the projects, or in the existing company you are very new to the project. Over there you are a junior, and the task and the work you will get in a very short term. You are just going to help the people. So meanwhile you can understand the application, and that is something called helper. Now extension. What is extension? So extension is something that which is already exist, but it is not fulfilling your requirement 100%. For that you have to extend the functionality, and that is where called open close principle of solid, right? So if you look at the solid principle, there is something called O, that means open close. So extension method is following the same principle. So Microsoft has created something very beautiful keyword, this that we are going to use to create extension method. Okay, so let's go to Visual Studio and I will show you how you can create helper and extension and what are the different keywords and all these things that you need. Okay, so let's go ahead. Okay, so here we are in the Visual Studio, and what I'm going to use two applications. One is console application and second is .NET Core application. So console application I will use to demonstrate helper class and extension methods. Again, I'm going to use .NET Core application to demonstrate actually how this extension method is following solid principle O, open close principle, right? Okay, so let me show you. So let's imagine you are working on a application, you are working on a finance application. Over there you are registering users, and on the users date of birth you have to perform multiple age calculations. Either it could be age calculation, either it could be something related to age. So all of these things you have to go for and create helper. Now why helper? Why can't you do same thing inside the same user class? There is something called helper concept. So what it does, it abstracts some logic which is not related to business, which is not the main business logic, but to somehow help your application to keep running. For that you decide to something called helper class. So your code would be neat and clean. Okay, so this is my folder. What I'm going to do, I'm going to create one class, and I will say here, hey, this is my class, and do what, let's say this is my age helper. Okay, so age help, come on, caps lock is on. So age helper, and let's name it age helper, right? And obviously helper is only work with static class. So helper is not a keyword, helper is just a concept. You need to remember, don't go for any word that Microsoft has introduced. No, it is just a concept. So what we have to do, we have to create a static class first. So go ahead for static class. Imagine we need one method which is going to accept age and return that this age is adult or not. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's create public method, and what we will say, hey, static and return string and say is adult, right? So then it should be actually boolean if it is if the naming convention is starting with is, so that is something good practice. Okay, so now let's say it is accepting one value called int, and it should be, let's say, age. Yes, age, and condition we will check here that, hey, if age is greater than 18 as per the government rules, then consider that as what? Then consider that as return, yes, this person is adult, right? And return true. Otherwise what? Otherwise return false. So that person is not adult, right? Okay, so let's say this is one method that needs for your age helper class. Now what could be the other methods that could be needed by age helper class? Could be like, you can pass the date of birth and you can return the age. So what you can do, you will create other method for that, and let's just copy paste so we can save time. And for sure this should be This should be static only. The return type, then only it would be helper method, and you will say int, and it should be like at age, and input should be date time. So caller method will pass date time and return the age. So what we will do, we will perform some logic here. I'm not going to perform that logic because we are going to focus on helper and extension concept. So let's say we have performed some logic, and at the end return some age. Let's say let's put some random number for now, say 20. So date of birth will come here, your helper logic will be performed here, and then you will return the age, right? Okay, so these are your helper class. Now what is the benefit of this helper class? One, we talked already that it is just a small part of your application that is just going to help you, but not the actual business logic. So now how to call that helper method? If you already know the static class, then you already know how to call it. So it would be just age helper. Wherever you go, let's say go to program class, and you will say, hey, this age helper and is adult. So this is adult, and you will pass a number if 18, right? And this is how you don't need to make an object. You just have to say class name dot method name, and this is what helper is. Now this is one thing that we have covered. Now what is extension? Okay, what Microsoft has done, they have given one keyword called this. One thing that you need to remember about this, that it will only work with static class. It doesn't work with any other class. So if you want to give me a try, let me just remove the static, and you will see there should be some, we have not added. Let's put this here, and let's see if it accepts or not. Oh, here you go. And it says extension method must be defined in a non-generic static class, right? But if I make it static, then it should be happy. You see, now class is happy. So to create extension method, you have to go for static class. How it is different than that helper that we have just said, static class dot method name. Okay, what only thing that will change here, that here now you don't need to make a call like this. For sure, you can do that. Microsoft is not restricting, .NET is not restricting, but there is other way. Now what you can do, you can say, because if you look at this, it says on integer, that this will work with this integer data type, right? So what you can say, hey, let's say declare one variable and say this is my age, and you say, hey, this is my value, right? And now you don't need to make a call to your you don't need to take help of your class. What you can do, you can work on variables. Now you will say age dot, and you will say, hey, is this age adult or not, right? So you see, you don't need to pass the parameter, but in helper you have to pass the parameter, right? You see, expecting int parameter, so you have to pass the int value. But here when we converted this to extension, now we don't need, we can just say this is my variable value and make a call to that function. You don't need help of anymore that static class, right? But as of now, you can either use it as extension or you can use it as a helper. This is all up to you. But the good practice, if you already used it as this keyword, then go for extension. Why you will make a call with static class and then method name, right? And what it does, it help you to make your code little clean as compared to the other approach, which is calling the class name and the method name. This is one of the reasons that most people use extension. If you go over the internet, you will find the same definition that, because my code look more elegant, that's why I go for creating extension method. But Microsoft has not designed for that purpose only. What they have done, they are saying, hey, whatever thing that is already existing, those methods are not actually satisfying 200%, then go and extend those. Don't modify the principle. Don't modify, but extend it. This is what that keyword is going to help us. So one use case, you can use this keyword extension method. Let's imagine your code is deployed on production. Now the best practice says, if something is in production and it is some change that you need to do, and at that time don't go and just change that logic, because it is possible that you may break the stable code once you deploy your changes on production. Okay, now you may ask question, hey, but man, I have just deployed this code. Now I know the whole logic, but I go and change that logic. This is just one line of change. For sure you can do. But what happens sometimes you are working in a big application, enterprise level application. Over there, 100 of other people are working. And 50 of people, 60 of people are already left like 2 years back. You just joined the team. You are not very aware that what will happen once you make that change. So for that, don't go and modify that logic, just extend those things. And this is where this keyword can help you. That is the one use case. Now, second use case, something which is already built. This time not your custom logic, this time something, let's imagine Microsoft has built something that you are using Nugget package, but these things are not fulfilling your requirement. Now what I will do, I will go and extend those functionality. Okay, so now as I said, let me open the other solution that I talked, that .NET Core application. And what I'm going to take an example, I'm going to take an example of this I configuration in startup class. So if I look at the I configuration definitions, I will see this is the interface and these are giving me all of these things, right? Now, if you go back and if you try to read something that, through this configuration, you will see Microsoft is also giving something called get connection string, right? But this is magic, right? If you go over I configuration, you will see there is nothing called get connection string. Now, how this is being then called get connection string? How Microsoft recognize this in IntelliSense, right? Why? Because Microsoft has created that class first, that interface first, and later they realized that they have to build something to get connection string as well. So what they have done, they have created extension. If you see this keyword, and they are passing it as a I configuration, right? And that is the reason we are able to make a call to get connection string, right? Now let's say in your application setting we have this connection string which it is going to fetch by default, and you just have to say name, because if you go to connection string you are seeing that this name, right? So you have to pass, if you pass this name here, it should be auto read your connection string. That is why they have extended get connection string, because this connection string knows that whenever someone will say, hey, get connection string, I will go app setting.json and I will read this connection string node, and this name I for sure need, so someone will pass this name. Okay, now if you look at this connection string, this is after every semicolon there is a key, there is a value, there is a key, there is a value, right? So let's say you have a requirement other than this, that you need to split after reading the connection string with semicolon. So you will say, hey, this is my key value, and maybe you want to some model class. So what you will do, one thing that you can do, hey, let's say put inside one connection, and you can do what? You can say connection dot and split through what? So you will say, let's say semicolon, right? And here will be your response. This is the one way that you can do. But do you really need to do that in your startup class? Do you really need to perform some logic in your startup class? The answer is no, that is not the practice. So what you can do, you can do the same thing what Microsoft has done to extend get connection string. Now you can create your own connection string. Let me show how you can do that. What I will do, I will go ahead and I will create one class, and that I will name as a extension. And what I will say, hey, this is my what? This is my configuration extension. So I'm creating one more extension, and I will say, because configuration extension already have, that is something default name, so I will say this is my custom extension, right? And this should be .cs file. Let's add it, and here you go. Okay, so again, we have to create public static to make it extension, and let's say what is the method name? This method name, right? So, and it should return here again, for now let's return string, right? So let's just return string, and here we have to say this, and this on what? this I configuration, I need to extend the functionality of this I configuration. So let's say I configuration, for sure add the namespace, and you can say this is your configuration. Okay, great, perfect. Now what you can do, you can perform some logic on top of it. So let me go there and undo that logic like this, and what I will do, just cut this thing, paste it here. So what I'm saying, give me the existing logic, whatever logic we have, and let's just fix this error. Okay, so what I'm saying, hey, whatever Microsoft has created, give me that logic, the existing logic, and top of it I'm performing my own logic, right? And then I will return the final response, whatever is the response here. So it is not happy because of this keyword, you have to make it static class. Okay, good. But it is still not happy because this is array, we have split it converted into array. So let's just make it array. So our method is happy. Now for the name, so don't confuse between existing extension method that Microsoft has and between our method. So what I will do here, I will say get connection string, I will say get splitted connection string, right? And again my caps lock, let's off it, and then say get splitted connection string. Okay, so now what I will do here, go there, I have to say this I configuration. Now wherever I need that splitted logic, I will say configuration dot what, get splitted connection string, and that's all. See, you have made a extension, you have followed open principle of solid, you have extended something which is Microsoft has built, but it was not fulfilling your requirement, so you have extended the functionality with this keyword. So this is the real use case that you need to do, either something that Microsoft and Nugget has built, or something which is already in the production and you don't want to break the stable code because you are not very sure how the stable code works. So go ahead and extend the functionality of those things, but this is only under static classes. But don't think that if it is a complete business logic, for that you can go and extend with this keyword. No, it will only work with static class, right? So you can extend the functionality of your helper classes with this keyword. For that, there is something called decorated design pattern. So I'm going to come up with a new video with decorated design pattern where I will show you how you can even extend the functionality of actual business logic for your code base. Okay, so that's all for today's video. I will see you in the next video. Bye bye, take care.